We have with us today two wonderful speakers, and we're very excited to hear what they have to say and look toward our future in camping ministry, which some of us are in the middle of and some of us are sort of looking at from a different perspective. So we'll just get started. Hopefully if others join us, they'll be able to hop right in. We are recording today, so we can also share this with others who aren't able to join us today. I'm Natalie Kapellik-Nixon, and I'm the director of the Orthodox Youth Directors in North America, chairman, not director. And we are the collective of national youth directors in our respective jurisdictions, and one of our main purposes is to bring resource to you, the youth workers. And camping ministry falls under what we do. So this particular webinar is for you camp directors and camp workers out there. We have two wonderful speakers with us today, as I mentioned. We have Katrina Bitar, who is the director of the YES program for Focus North America, but she's also the director of Camp St. Nicholas in Southern California, right, Katrina? And we have Eva Konstantakos, who is the Metropolis Youth Director for Detroit. And she also runs the camps within her Metropolis, Camp St. Nicholas. Coincidence, which I didn't realize when I asked you both to do this. And what's your second camp, Eva?
We have three camps in the Metropolis: MDSC, which is in Michigan, St. Nicholas Summer Camp, which is in Kentucky, and then St. Timothy Camp, which is in upstate New York.
So the two ladies we have with us today have a wealth of knowledge between all of the ministries that they have worked in. And we thought we had wanted to do this topic before COVID-19 happened. I think we all kind of struggle with keeping that connection and developing our staff outside of the camping season. But now that we're in this very unique situation, it almost becomes even more relevant of how do we connect with our staff, how do we develop them within their role within the ministry. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. If you do have questions, you can submit them in the Q&A section or in the chat, and we can pick those up, and we'll be doing the questions toward the end of today's presentation. So without further ado, I would like, oh, it's a webinar. I can't ask Father Chris to do a prayer. So if you'd all just join me together. O Heavenly King, the Comforter, the Spirit of Truth, who art everywhere present and fills all things, treasury of blessings and giver of life, come abide in us, cleanse us from all impurity, and save our souls, O good one. So everyone, I'm going to turn it over to Eva, and she is going to start off the presentation for us.
Thank you, Natalie. Let me get my presentation up and running here for everyone. Hopefully we can see that. I can see you, Katrina. Can you give me a thumbs up to make sure it's up? Great, fantastic. Okay. Natalie, thank you so much, and to all of the Orthodox Youth Directors in North America for the introduction and the invitation, of course, to be a part of this. And I pray that what I've got to offer today is helpful to all of you, my brothers and sisters in Christ, right? My co-workers in Christ, to offer just a few ideas about camp staff development outside of the camp season, right? We want to, as Natalie said, this is an interesting and unique time for us as youth workers and camp directors, people in camping ministry. We have a distinct opportunity. We were talking about before we got started with our webinar today, that this is a time where we're normally knee deep, neck deep, eyeball deep in so much of the logistics of getting camp ready. We're already in camp. And we have an interesting and unique opportunity to think about and develop and fortify the way that we connect with our staff to help them become better staff members, more importantly, to help them grow in Christ and grow toward the kingdom. So I just want to offer a few things that we're thinking about in the Metropolis of Detroit. I am the Youth and Young Adult Ministries Director for the GOA Metropolis of Detroit, but also I direct and or oversee some of our camps in our specific regions. So this is kind of some of the things that we're looking at for our metropolis. So the first thing I had to do was think to myself, why should we focus on our staff? And quite frankly, it's a silly question, I thought to myself. A better question is, why wouldn't we focus on our staff during this season? Camp is, for those of you who are involved with camping ministries, a year-round ministry. It doesn't just end when we send campers home on that last day. Sometimes we're thinking about the next year within that week that we're in. So it's something we're thinking about on a regular basis. The cultivation and strengthening of our staff members, who are, again, co-workers in Christ with us, is imperative for us to be focusing on. Camp staff, our staff, they're more than just employees or volunteers. As I said, we're co-workers in Christ's vineyard. So it's important for us to strengthen them, because the stronger they are, the stronger we are, the stronger our camps are, the stronger the ministry is, the stronger Christ's church is here on earth. Therefore, it's imperative for us to do our best to support our brothers and sisters by caring for them and serving them as we would care for our own loved ones, our own families, and as Christ cares for us, and to provide them with the tools to learn how to serve the camp, to serve his church, and ultimately all of his people in or out of the church, right? In our church, in the world as a whole. So as I began, when I first realized that we weren't going to have in-person camp, I started thinking about refocusing my attention, preparing for 2021. One of those things was how we can engage to cultivate and develop a fantastic staff for 2021, right? But there were so many ideas I had to focus. So before I began, I thought of 5 kind of main things that I need to make sure that I do for engaging in a year-long development process or procedure. First and foremost, it's really important to ask our staff. It's great to offer as much as you can, and of course, I as a camp director know the skill set that I need my staff to have when they serve at camp and serve our campers and serve the church. But it's also important for us to ask what they would like and have them invested in that process. Send a survey out, something simple, or ask a few people when you see them at liturgy or whatever event you might be attending. It's important to get what they would be interested in, so that it'll be meaningful, they'll be engaged in what you have to offer. It's also important, we experience this on many different levels, in person or now even virtual ministry, preventing burnout, right? Making sure that we don't do too much. We don't want to overburden our youth workers, right? We don't want to overburden our camp staff. Keeping sessions, compact, maybe an hour max, depending on the activity. Being mindful of their time and other commitments that they have as well. I'm very blessed to be paid to get to do this on a year-long basis, but our staff members are doing multiple things, right? And they also have families, and they also have day jobs. They might have more than one job. Our college students, when I was a college student, I was going to school full-time and I had 2 jobs. So we have to be mindful not to overburden them and not to burn them out before we even get them to camp. Another thing to think about is being mindful of cost. And I don't just mean monetary cost, really the cost to our time and our resources. And also be mindful of the cost to our staff members. We might have these really great opportunities and trainings and things that we want to do to develop them as staff members, but we also have to be mindful not just of the time, but also how much it costs them. So keep in mind what you can afford to provide and invest in your staff, and keep in mind what your staff are able to pay or to give of their time or of their pockets to invest in themselves for camp and for the church. It's also really important to be consistent. One of the things that I think is really wonderful about camp that I feel campers are drawn to is the fact that they know what to expect. They know expectations and they know what's happening virtually every day because the schedule is the same. They're going to have breakfast, they're going to have lunch, they're going to have an evening activity. We are going to pray. So it's also very important for our staffs, whatever we offer them in the way of camp development or staff development, is to do something on regular intervals. Make sure it's regular and consistent so that if one of them happens to fall away, they know, oh, you know what, Eva's gonna do it the third Thursday of every month. So if I missed it this time, it's okay, I'll catch it next time. They can also easily schedule it into their everyday lives. And add this question to your list, you know, when you ask your audience. Make sure you ask them about the frequency in which they're willing to invest their time or that they would like to have camp and that staff development part of their everyday or just usual routine. Also, make sure to offer variety, just the same way that our campers are different. Some are athletic, some are artsy, some are introverts, some are extroverts. It's important for your staff development to offer a variety of opportunities and ways for addressing their spiritual, social, and professional needs. So it doesn't need to just be Orthodox life. It needs to be kind of a variety of things to help them grow in all aspects of their life, all aspects of their being. So this led me to two kind of main concepts. Aside from the center of what we do being Christ, right? And making sure that people are growing closer to the kingdom. The two things that I think about when it comes to camping ministries are family, right? The idea of community and that we are connected together as a spiritual family, and service, right? We are not only providing a service to the campers, but we have a responsibility to serve our campers and our staff, to help them grow and to give them every tool necessary to be successful in growing toward the kingdom. So these are the two things that I'm basically going to formulate or use to guide what we are, at least in my work, going to be focusing on offering our staff as we develop their opportunities throughout the year outside of the camping season. I love this scripture because as we move into this idea of camp family, you know, talking about the importance and the impact and not forgetting our loved ones, our spiritual family, and providing for them for their needs, not just spiritually, but emotionally and developmentally as well. So it's a major impact that we can have and that we have a responsibility for. So the imagery I use here is Christ.
Your slides aren't changing.
Oh no. Oh no, 1 second. Where did they last change? They haven't changed at all?
No, we're still on the first one.
Oh dear, 1 second. Well, you know, I will just stop sharing and just present then, because you're missing out, so I'm sorry. Well, not missing out, it's not that important, but I can also always share the presentation afterward. Okay, you can see me now, correct?
You're good.
Okay, all right, we'll just move from there. Sorry, you're gonna have to look at me instead. So, so the first thing is working on the family relationships, right? So the imagery that I use is Christ, you know, as the vine, and we are the branches. We need to first work on fortifying those relationships, and not just simply at camp, but beyond camp, and not just at camp activities or camp themed or sponsored activities, but throughout the year. So the first thing I would suggest in inviting staff, current and potential staff, to be involved in non-camp ministry activities and events. So making sure they get involved in different ministries throughout the year at your parishes, whether they be parish local events or regional events. I'm the Metropolis Director of Youth and Young Ministry, so I help coordinate all of the different retreats and events throughout the year, including sports ministry, rhetorical festivals, and making sure that these staff members get incorporated into all of it. Because if we cultivate those relationships throughout the year at different things and not just camp things, though it will become a natural and a necessary part of their life to continue that service and that connection at camp. It will become a culmination, if you will, joining everyone in kind of a family reunion to see one another. Also, it's really important to acknowledge the individual talents of people and their strengths, and to consider getting them involved on the off season in ways that they can help the camp itself. Camp-related tasks. Many of you have, incredible young adults who have extraordinary talent beyond my own, not being a young adult, right? So you've got young adults who are great with social media and technology. You've got people who are experts in audio visual. You've got great people who have great speaking ability. So use these people throughout the year and use their talents so then they feel invested. They feel like they've brought something to the table and they're a branch that's actually creating fruit that benefits the camp. And it also, speaks to them giving in service and in love to the camp. So the next thing would be this idea of a family reunion, right? The reality is we can't be all together. This is a perfect example right now during COVID and this pandemic that we can't always be together. So you have to find interesting and unique ways to connect with one another. I know this is going to sound revolutionary, but aside from social media and technology, we can also write a note card, right? Or phone calls. We have multiple different ways we can connect with our staff. And it's important that we check in, right? We check in with our staff members. We make sure they're doing okay. We make sure that they have what they need. It's like we would check in on our, some people that are vulnerable in our communities and the not so vulnerable. We just want to hear the voice or maybe see the face in Zoom of people that we care about in our family. But you have other creative ways that you can do that as well. You can plan online trivia nights or games, or just, I know people, for the adults, the staff, you might have people under 21, so that's why I say adult. But, wine and cheese night, where everybody gets a little glass of wine and a plate of cheese and just sit and talk with one another. Obvious, social interactions. When we're able to get together in person, you might be able to do something like an in-person retreat, doing like a camp style weekend, not camp weekend, but a retreat style weekend where they can do all of the things that a camper would do, but for themselves and for their age and for their stage in life, and to give them that strength and also feed them, spiritually, so that they can be super strong and super excited about the camping season. One thing that I'm hoping, one thing that I'm working on is creating a staff newsletter. Think about the way that our family sometimes will send us a picture in a letter, keeping you updated on what they've done throughout the year. Some of the great things, and maybe some of the struggles. Letting you know that little Billy, actually grew up and finished college, or little Maria started playing violin and had her first recital. Or Yaya broke her hip, and your prayer for her speedy recovery would be wonderful. If you create like a once a year kind of staff newsletter to showcase your staff and to make sure that we're praying for one another in our times of struggle, this is a great way to connect our staff to each other and to one another and to the camp itself, to show that the camp cares and that there are other people who care about them as well. And then the last thing I would point out about family, the connection, the creating the vine, and enforcing the idea that we are the branches and we are together, is really instilling the practice of prayer among our camp family. It's something that we try to instill in the home, right? For those of us who wear multiple ministry hats, it's something that we want to instill in the home, right? So it's something that we would instill in our camp family as well. We already, in one of our camps, the Michigan camp that we have, they've done a weekly series. They did it for a few months, where every Monday night they got together and they prayed, and then there was a reflection offered by the priest. So plan for special times for your staff to get together for the sole purpose of worship and prayer, whether it's to watch online services together or to have a special prayer service just for staff, and having them engage in some ways, reading the prayers, and having sign-ups for them to pray together. Adopt a specific prayer that maybe is specific to your camp, that's special to your camp, or one, if you've got a priest or someone who writes beautiful prayers, one that's specifically made for the staff of your camp, so that they can have that in their icon table in their home, in their prayer corner, to remind them of that family staff connection and our responsibility to continue to pray unceasingly as Orthodox Christians. And something that I'm hoping to work on in conjunction with offering regular whether it's monthly or maybe even twice a month, development opportunities for our staff, is to offer a monthly scripture or a reflection on the writings of the saints that connect. You can either send it via MailChimp or send it via a video message, right? So that you can connect with them and offer them something to think about before your training or your workshop or whatever you might be offering. So next we're going to move to the staff development outside of camp, and I have just 3 points to focus on. So service, when I think about service, again, our staff members are not meant to just serve us or serve the camps. We are also there to serve them as well. We have to serve one another just as Christ served and washed the feet of the disciples. So there are 3 things to focus on: spiritual growth, personal growth, and professional growth. These are 3 ways that we can serve our staff members so they can better serve the camp, better serve the campers and his church, Christ's church. So the first one would be spiritual growth. One of the main things that I hope to offer in the next year is deliberate Orthodox Christian education sessions for our staff. It's the one thing that, you know, when camp gets so busy that they beg me to try to squeeze in to our camp schedule, because we try to fit so much in for our campers. Sometimes we do forget ourselves as staff. So providing Orthodox live sessions for our staff throughout the year, also informing our staff of other Orthodox Christian education opportunities and service opportunities that present themselves, whether they be opportunities to serve with Yes, right? Trips or just volunteering and working, mission trips. And as I said earlier, getting involved with other youth ministry events in your region, in your areas, in your parish. And also, we have a wealth of really incredible books, websites, blogs, so that our staff can research and learn on their own time. So make sure you create a list. That's one of the things I'm working on as well, is to create a list of books and websites so they can learn on their own time and learn at their own pace and what interests them as well. Personal growth. This one is a bit more challenging because it has to be done in the right spirit. You don't want people to feel that they are not personally good enough. This is just to help them grow and to help them increase in all of the wonderful things, their gifts and talents that they have to offer. So we hope to offer a few opportunities for our staff to investigate, to develop, and to understand their skills, their strengths, and maybe some of their weaknesses, to work on those things, to grow and to work together. Many of you are familiar with things like StrengthsFinder and the Myers-Briggs, help not only understand the way they operate, but how their counselors, or their staff members, co-staff work, and how they function and how they think, to help them learn more about themselves and to be understanding toward others. I acknowledge also that I'm not an expert in these type of fields, so I personally am looking to outside sources to help develop our staff on personal growth and personal development. A place to go is HCHC, the Hellenic College Holy Cross, their Office of Vocation and Ministry, who spends a lot of time helping young people, young adults, look to what their gifts and talents are and how they can be put toward their vocation. Not just the vocation that we think of in a secular sense, but their ultimate vocation in following and becoming more Christ-like and moving toward salvation. Connecting older staff with younger staff so they can be like a mentor and talk about experience. And also, I'd be remiss if I didn't promote the Orthodox Youth and Camp conferences that we have annually, who help us not only understand our work as youth workers, also we can work together with people who have great ideas, who can inspire us to do more with our gifts and talents. And last, but certainly not least, because I forgot to turn on my timer and I don't know how long I've taken, forgive me, but professional growth. The last kind of aspect of how we can serve our staff is, you know, helping them grow professionally, skills that we know that we could utilize at camp, but also things that they can use as an active member of their parishes, in their work environment, or at school, or just in their engagement with people in general. So these are some of the things that we've been talking about in the GOA with our Camping Ministries Committee. It's things like offering first aid and mental health first aid training for staff, because these are things that they don't just encounter at camp, but these are skills and tools that they can use in any situation and out at a restaurant. Conflict resolution and communication training, teaching our people how to deal with conflict and struggle, also learn how to communicate, not in a way only that I understand, but in the way that other people will understand. Youth safety, that sounds like something that just applies to youth work, but youth safety is more than just trying to figure out who someone, like if someone's a predator, but also in creating boundaries and expectations and guidelines and creating safe spaces. And that's applicable in many different kinds of environments, whether they be secular or in the church. And finally, one of the things I really enjoy that I'm working toward in all three of our camps I'm going to work toward is developing an alumni network. Because we have people who were staff members who maybe can't serve at camp, who throughout the year can, through their alumni love and support, can help deepen the community, but also serve in different ways and help current staff grow in their skills, not only in but also in their profession, whatever that might be in their vocation outside camp and outside of the church. So that's all I have for my things. Forgive me if I went over, because like I said, I forgot to turn on the timer, but thank you again for the opportunity, and I hope it was helpful.
Thank you, Eva. I have, taken all my little notes. I have to pay attention that I'm in charge. So thank you so much, Eva. I'm not going to take up any time. Katrina, I'm going to turn it over to you, and let's keep on moving.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Eva. You couldn't see me, but I was doing a lot of writing and nodding, and I appreciate you and everything you offered. Hello to everyone. It's so nice to be with you all today in the ways that we can be together. And I'll just share a few thoughts here about what came to my mind when I was thinking about this topic. And really the first thing that popped in to my head was just building relationship and trust and connections so you are able to truly see them, the people that we're serving together with, and to call out what you see. And then, this participation in staff development happens year-round, and I really see it as this year-round process. I think how we serve our staff and our programs when they're not happening begins while they are, whether we're together or whether we are currently connecting through, seeing faces in a different way and hearing voices in a different way. So I'm going to speak to an overall year-round approach. Something I was blessed to hear just a few weeks ago that I'll never forget, and it blew my mind and I wanted to share, was this rethinking of the etymology of the word respect. Often this word respect is used in place of what's really needed. Often when we say, we want a common respect, we want to respect each other, if we don't feel respected, maybe we feel a lack of listening, a lack of attention, right? We haven't been looked at properly and welcomed properly. So the speaker I was listening to broke down the word inspect. Re, as we all know, means to do again. Inspect is the root word of many words that lead us to look and be able to see. And he gave examples of how the first time we look at someone or something happening, we can just come up with our own assumptions, our own thoughts about what's happening. We see three women walk out of a high-end store with many bags in their hands. And we may say, wow, maybe they're squandering their money. Who knows what they're spending money on themselves, or, this is how they're spending their day. And the speaker said, and then we need to look again out of respect. And maybe we think things compassionately, like, who knows the gifts that they're going to be giving to other people. Look how they all went out together to shop so that they can offer. So this idea of looking again, and just to keep looking and breaking down all of the things that might come to our minds, the walls we might have up to the people we're serving with, so that we can really see them and build these relationships that are fruitful, that take on a mentorship experience, And really, we become coworkers who are seeking Christ together, who are seeking our true selves together, and seeking to serve together. So we might begin our relationship with some of the people we serve with when they are campers, and begin to see them then. And then they're invited to join our staffs. And we give a job description, and we do the training we do, and we stand with them and support them, and we keep looking at them to see them. I think this is the beginning of a deeper relationship, being someone in their life who helps them see themselves, and where they are called to serve beyond the camp community. Something I think about a lot is people are going to be at camp for a short time, but they're going to be doing life for a long time. And one of the most fruitful things we can do for them is to think beyond the camp community and beyond just preparing them to serve in the particular role they'll be in. But how can their time at camp prepare them for the rest of their lives? Try to think of staff development as Eva said, as personal, professional, social, spiritual development, and being intentional about making that clear from the start. Something I think whenever we gather as a camp community, whether we're together or a gathering from our homes, we gather for retreat. Gather together to be prepared to be sent out to our churches, our worlds, our homes, our sisters and brothers, our husbands and wives, mothers and fathers, to the people we love and we serve. And so from the beginning, I think it's important to be intentional about stating that and saying that everything we do together as a camp community is for when we're not together. And so, I try to encourage the counselors, for instance, think about showing up as a person God is designing you to be in this particular role, right? To kind of take the edge off of the pressure that might be felt to be a good counselor or to live up to what their counselors were or what they feel is expected, but to stress that we all grow together. None of us are going to do everything right. We're all going to make mistakes and come back to ourselves with each other. And we do that for each other. We remind each other who we want to be and grow together in the experience year round, right? I thought I would share some pieces of this kind of formative development that begins when they're campers and goes through their training, their experience at camp, even how we debrief camp and transition home, and then throughout the year, and give a little example of each. And I think they can really be adapted to whatever camp will look like in the coming years for us until we are together again. So it's beautiful and fruitful to begin calling out what we see in them while they're campers. I don't know about all of you in your communities, but I'm sure there are just some campers that start to just own their place in the community. You can see them not just there to receive, but they start to, for instance, pass out service books on their own to people walking into church, or coming up to you and asking, is there anything I can help with? Things like that, just to notice and take note of those campers that on their own are starting to find their place to serve within the community. Something that we have a teen week of camp, and this is something we've started doing during winter camp as well, during our teen week. Just at the beginning of camp, ask for volunteers from the campers and staff together to take care of certain tasks. Who's going to check the bathrooms before we all go up to bed? Who's going to serve the food? Who's going to set up the chairs for our sessions? And so they volunteer, and we give them an opportunity, again, while we're together, to show them that they're trusted, that they're part of us from the time that they're campers. And then everything kind of happens, not just to them, but we're all serving each other together. And I think, as they get older and they're, becoming seniors in high school and so on, to really just take note, and again, to keep looking again at them and notice who they are and what, all the different things Eva laid out that you can kind of fill them in with the needs of the program, and also other needs that maybe show up throughout the year that have nothing to do with camp, but just to keep that connection. And then I think training together So this year, since we weren't going to be together, I wanted to offer something to our counselors, an opportunity to come together and do leadership development. So last week, we offered a leadership conference to the YES community and the CAMP community together, and the staff of both worked together to have a beautiful 3 days of just overall leadership development for their lives. And ministry development was part of that, personal development was part of that, and then taking everything into the world and kind of seeing where you feel called in your church communities, where you feel called in your communities at large in the world. And, you know, we wanted just to make sure to offer something to them since we didn't have that week of training together. That's really formative personally for all of us. So some of the things we do in training, and I'd be happy to share any of these sessions with anybody, we talk about what living in community looks like. We talk about thinking compassionately towards each other and understanding the fears we all have going into the work together and kind of verbalizing them all and able to understand each other that way. We also do a session focused on leading as Jesus led, and 7 points that really kind of highlight Jesus as the quintessential servant leader that none of us will ever come close to being. We can seek to come after him and to follow as best we can. So there's another session that we do. And then last summer, I added this session that, you know, hoped would really, again, filter into every area of their lives during and after our time together, called Embracing Adulthood. And again, I'm happy to share any of these sessions, but we talked about being proactive and not waiting for someone else to do the thing that you feel called to do, to prioritize your own care so that you can be for others and able to care for others, take responsibility for yourself, your own insecurities, what are the things that you could burden someone else with, and just to be aware of that and to really kind of live this life of forgiveness at camp together. And just kind of to points like that talk about bravery and taking risks and knowing when it's time to follow and knowing when it's time to lead, and really forming all of us to let each other shine. Being, you know, part of being a leader is knowing when it's your time to lead and when it's your time to follow. And so I think, you know, sometimes we don't talk enough about how beautiful it is to follow. And, you know, we won't always have a role in that, you know, as a leader in that way. And, you know, during your time together, I think it's so important to spend time to see them and pull them aside just to say hello and see how they're doing. We have our head counselors that are very close to our counselors, and just taking that time to have the one-on-ones every week or so, and at least, and just to be friends and build a trusting relationship where growth can happen together. And I think also, you know, just the transition from camp and how that happens to home should really have a lot of intentionality as much as we can to think about how do we help everyone to go home to their lives, to not so much, you know, to take camp with them in that way, but who are they now? What are the things they see about their life at home that we can kind of help them transition well and take their experiences and the things that formed them while we were together to walk home into their lives and just feel equipped and ready for that. So something that we like to do together is, I don't know if all of you have ever done SMART goals, but the SMART all stand for different things that really kind of help lay out a short-term or long-term goal for your life. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And again, I'm happy to share, we have some worksheets that we do, you know, and ask questions together. What am I worried about this coming year? How can I control my reaction when I experience failure? What do I need to change about the way I think of myself this year? How can I create more for myself? What can I do to improve the way I communicate with others? Things like this that just kind of help self-reflection and, you know, thinking about who we are together and creating a supportive community when we go home, so the relationships continue to be fruitful, and really just a mentorship kind of experience happens from that. And I think all of these things are needful now, very much, just to bring people together, to think together, to examine where they are and how they're feeling and what's happening. And I think as much as we can come together when we're not together, it helps people just know how much they're loved, how much they're seen, how much they're part of the community, no matter if we're together or apart. Something else that, thanks, Matt. Something else that I really love doing with our staff is to create like a buddy relationship. And that's something I'm thinking about doing as we go into this year, where each of the buddies writes a letter to each other of encouragement, and they just stay together as partners and support throughout really the year. This is something we'll do, you know, during camp as well when we're together. And another thing that we like to think about together is how do we be intentional about kind of naming out loud and thinking about the campers that will need us to continue our ministry with them throughout the year. And there's no one that is apart from this, right? Every camper is someone that we want to make sure that they know that they're still a part of our community, whether we're together or apart. But some of our campers really do, we want to make sure that they are cared for, stayed in touch with, especially now by certain of our staff members. And so staff members will say, like, I will call Jenny. I will be the one. And we will do this together when we're wrapping up camp. And I think we're going to do this together when we wrap up our camp this summer. Like, who are the campers? We want to make sure, don't forget that we remember them all the time. And so, yeah, if anyone, I wanted to, you know, say if anyone wants to see the outline or any of the sessions from the leadership conference that we did last week, I'd be very, very happy to share. We also recorded it, so you could share that too. And, you know, more than ever right now, I think the moments we have of a phone call for no reason, reaching out and saying, hey, can you help me with this, are so powerful, even sometimes more than an organized thing you plan to do. Whatever we can do to keep the community connected, the parents and the campers, just to keep reaching out and let them know what, you know, that we love them, that we believe in them and what we see in them, and that we see they can offer these specific things. We see that they know that they matter for the future of the program. My assistant director and I, about years ago, we just started feeling like it's probably going to be a time to transition soon, and we want this group of people that we see leading the program into the next phase to know that we see that in them. So we sat them down together and we let them know that they're important for the future of our program, and they have all really stepped up in many ways, and it's amazing to see that. And they, you know, I do believe they will be the leadership when we transition out. And more than, you know, I really echo what Eva said about inviting them to be part of different things that aren't just camp related, to show them what we see in them. And again, to call that out. Yeah, that's what I have. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much to both Katrina and Eva. I have a lot to process. And I just so much now for me to think for myself with my staff. So we do have some questions. And well, Jennifer's saying she would love if for both of you, if you can share the resources, and she gave you her address. What I'd also like to tell you all, we are going to be adding now to the OrthodoxYouth.net website. We already have our camp resources, but we're going to be adding a camp development resource section. So we will be asking both Katrina and Eva with what they shared with us today, if they would be willing to share that with us. But for those of you that also are doing camp development, staff development, please share that with us, and we will begin, we'll keep loading that onto the resource website, you know, so we can make that available to everyone. So do we have any other questions for our two presenters right now? I know I have one. I just have the problem sometimes, and it's probably just, I'm gonna answer my own question. It's just doing it to get them going. I often just have a really tough time getting them to engage once we're out of the season. You know, like I've tried this, sending them like newsletters or emails or different things like that, and just, have you had, what would you see successes you have had in getting them to stay engaged throughout the non-camping season?
Want to go, Eva? Okay. Just something that comes to my mind is I think the personal outreach goes a long way, as far as, hey, can you help me with whatever? Can you speak at this other thing I'm doing that's not camp related at all? Or even just saying, I don't live in California, for instance. And so a lot of, most of our staff do. So to say, can you go to this church? And, I think the personal, outreach it says more than just what you say on the phone. I know it says, wow, this person is thinking of me, and they believe something about me, and they want me to be part of what they're doing. So I think it's good to be consistent with newsletters and all of that. It's, again, that touching point that's saying, like, we are connecting, but then following it up. And even if it's not you, having your assistant director, your people, like, we'll say, like, who's going to call whoever, someone needs to, I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, I was going to say that one of the things that, it's the consistent question, even forget about just camp ministries, just youth ministry in general, that lay kind of youth workers always say, well, what do we do? We need more people. And I tell them, like, well, how did you try to recruit them? And it was the same idea. Oh, well, we put a flyer that we need volunteers. The same thing with Greek festivals too. They expect everybody to like, oh yeah, I'll help. No, you have to go and say, we really need you. Like, you are essential to what we have to do. And when they hear it from you, and when you've taken, I don't want to, double up, but if they see it, then they're going to assume someone else is got it taken care of. They don't need me. What do I have to offer? Right? Or I just don't have time. And when they hear from you that I don't need you to do the whole thing, I need you to do this much, but this much is essential, is key, right? And part of it too, I will tell you that I've been inspired by people who don't say, oh, we'd really like it if you, I really love how there's a priest that I love dearly who kind of tells people to do things. and I mean that with love, because you obviously don't want to force people, but when you say, I need you to do this, right? Or could you, or would you, like when he says, I need you, I can't tell him no. You know what I mean? It's very hard for me when he says, Eva, Evdokia, I need you to do this for me. I'm like, okay, I'll do it. So number one, taking that deliberate effort and not just assuming that people are going to jump at the opportunity, but also sometimes volunteering people and making it bite-sized too. That's the other thing too. This is why I said about being considerate and not overburdening people. If we try to do too much, then it could be too much, and they might just say, you know what, I can't commit to that, right? If you're doing 30 minutes to an hour of something to engage them or to do something, then it's easier to digest than 10 hours a week helping you do something. So making it easier, bite-sized.
I think just we just have to kind of name it that it's a generational thing also. Like, unfortunately, I mean, people are more insecure now. Like, I mean, it is what it is. They're more insecure. They're doubting themselves. And so they do need, I think, more of the, I'm just learning, like when you put something out there and say, someone, let me know if you want to, it just isn't as effective as, like you said, will you please? So.
I find that what you just said, Katrina, the generational thing, sometimes I struggle with that because I just come from, I am getting older, that time where, you know, right? And it is different. It's a different way of creating relationship and expectation. And it's kind of, I've been having to kind of relearn that, which is a good thing. But sometimes I forget and I wonder, like, why,
Right.
why isn't it working? Why, you know, why aren't I connecting with my staff the way I want to? And then I realize that I have to adjust because they are coming from a different place, a different generation than I am, and it's a learning process.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Eva.
Go ahead.
Just the quick thing about the like embracing adulthood session and how that came about, because I even had to just teach myself to be patient with, if I say, you know, can you do this thing? And they say yes, I also have to say, when you're done doing it, can you, and this is like, at first, again, it was frustrating me, but this is, we can't, you know, I had to realize, like, I can't assume even the like simple steps of follow through or simple steps of, you know, this is all helpful again to their overall life. Like, you know, to do these things when we're together in a safe place where they can fail and they can get up and they can be supported, so that when they're at work and they don't follow through, you know, like, so they're mindful of, you know, these steps that just are part of maturing and taking responsibility as an adult. So yeah, it's being patient with those things too. Not everything is obvious.
Right. I would also say too, and this is things that I've discovered in this process of difficulty. It's not even just a generational thing. I also know that I'm personally a different person than other people. I don't wait for other people to tell me what they need done. I kind of jump in sometimes to a fault without, you know, and say, okay, I take the reins on this. And I have to remember it's a certain level of self-awareness as a leader, that not everyone leads or takes initiative like I do. So telling people that they can do that, but also, I also know that as a leader, I'm also, how do I say this nicely about myself? I have an issue with control. And so those of us who have been doing ministry for a long time are used to just doing it, getting it done, boom, boom, we know what to do. And I think, you know, what you said about patience, not just that, but allowing others to be a part of it, you know, allowing and letting them understand. I look at one of my favorite things to talk about is, you know, the geese. And it's a lot of team building kind of books and visuals, how geese, everyone takes a turn at the front and everyone takes a turn at the back, and not everyone can lead the whole time. You know, it's exhausting. And, you know, we don't have to lead all of the time. And it's important for us to show that the ones in the back are just as important, and everybody's going to get their turn in the way that's best for them. So, you know, relinquishing some of the control. And I find that for those of us who are part of maybe older generations, that's a struggle that we have in our churches, period, and in camps as well, that we just need to learn how to let go, and that it will be okay. And that things will still happen, and probably not the way we would do it, but that's okay. And learning to come to terms with that. So that's more, I feel, of something that we all need to work on as camp directors, to work on ourselves so that we can be better mentors for future leaders, that they're not going to be leaders like us, right?
It's so funny that you said all that, and like both of you tying in. A very good friend of mine who was one of our camp directors for 15, maybe almost 20 years. I learned from her, you know, and she would say to me often, you need to let them do it. you need to let them do it. You need to let them do it their way, and you need to let them either fail or succeed. And then you're there to guide them through whatever happens. And, you know, when I was younger in my 20s, that was tough. That was tough to let go. And I understood what she was saying to me at the time, but it was still hard. Like I thought, like you said, not how I would do it, and do it faster or finish it up. But it was one of the best pieces of advice I've gotten as I was myself growing in my ministry, and have tried to not only now continue to cultivate that myself, but now impart that to my assistant directors, you know, head staff. You know, so I'm very grateful that that piece of advice came to me when I was a young staff member who was starting to take on more responsibility, because it took me a while. It took me a while to grasp it, and I'm still not great at it. But I know it's there. So I think that's both of what you said. That's such valuable advice. It made a difference for me personally, that advice. So hearing it again from you too just reaffirms it. So I just want to ask again if we have any other questions. We're just about at our 4 o'clock mark. And go ahead, Katrina.
Natalie, I just wanted to offer, and I forgot to say this earlier, that we're developing this leadership online conference to be that we could offer for anybody, like a group that wanted us to kind of facilitate our process. You know, it's very holistic and not specific to any specific camp or program, but just a general, you know, leadership development experience. So we could tailor it and do it for you happily. Just wanted to offer that.
Oh, that's great, because I think a lot of times people don't realize that the root of all ministry is the same, right? And then it has its unique twists wherever it goes. So thank you so much, and you'll give us the information, you know, how they can
absolutely
contact you about that. So I'm going to say thank you to both Eva and Katrina for coming today and giving us all so much to chew on, and for all of you for joining us. I would like to let you know that the camp town halls are going to resume August 25th. And of course, we'll let you all know, and we'll have posts about that, but you can save the date right now in your calendars for the camp town hall to begin August 25th. And Father Stephen and Punny Daria say hello to you all as they're getting ready for camp themselves. We do have 2 other webinars coming up in 2020. We're going to be doing a webinar in August with Father Joseph Purpura, Steve Christoforou, and Ann Bezarides and myself. And we're going to be presenting opportunities in youth ministry training, continued training, beginning training, and 4 very different models and opportunities. So that's going to be in August. And then we're hoping in September, the postponed webinar with Mother Gabriella is going to be happening on prayer life for a youth worker. So keep your eyes open for those dates, August and September. And like I said, we'll be resuming the Camp Town Hall in August. And I believe we'll also be resuming the Youth Worker Forum in August, which they'll both be moving to monthly gatherings for all of us. Oh, I see. So we have a couple. So both Katrina and Eva have put their contact information in the chat. And so please contact them with any further questions. Again, thank you all so much. Thank you, Katrina and Eva. You know, I pray that our to bless all of your ministries, and most importantly right now, to keep you all safe and healthy in your families.
Good strength to everyone. Have a wonderful rest of the summer. Thank you.
Nice to be with you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.